After extracting over 120,000 in value in this raid, I've now made my very first million, which means I'm rich enough to buy up the whole of Speranza at this point, so it's time to unveil my secrets. Just be warned, once I've shown my spot and loot route here, it might get a little busy, so just consider the 3 things that I'm doing here: the loadout, the strategy, and the main obstacles to avoid. You can do this yourself if you can find your own building too. It doesn't have to be the exact area I'm about to show you. You should try to find your own little quiet spot on the map that nobody else knows about. Although the building that I've been using is pretty awesome. Now, before I explain the specifics, why would anyone want to make 1 million in Ark Raiders? Well, I'm really enjoying this game, and I plan to play this a lot until the first expedition in December, which is basically like an optional wipe and prestige system. So now that I've made my million early on, I can do a lot of cool things as I play every day. I can buy a hull cracker every day from the gun shop. This is really good at dealing with Ark. I can buy ammo whenever I want, saving precious inventory space. The max stash size is only 280, so I don't have to worry about storing some of the basics. So by setting aside the money to buy the basics whenever I need to, I can save my crafting materials for upgrading weapons and start to build up a big loadout with some of the endgame gear so that I can get into the action faster and I don't have to struggle with limited storage space. I can just buy whatever I need when I want it. So let's break down how I got rich in Ark Raiders. It first comes to the loadout. The cheaper, the better, obviously. A looting Mark II augment is highly recommended though. You can get it after upgrading your gear bench just 1 level, and it gives you a lot more carrying capacity, and more importantly, 2 safe pocket slots. You will die sometimes, but the extra safe pocket will help you secure more value out of those riskier runs. My suggestion is just grab a Rattler, a Ferro, 240 medium ammo, 120 or maybe 80 heavy ammo, and you'll be sorted. Yeah, that is a lot of ammo, but I'll explain why in a second. If you do have the resources spare, I would suggest upgrading the Ferro and Rattler as well. That will come in handy. So once you've got your loadout, this is what you're going to be using every time you go into the raid. So let's break down the strategy. Now remember, you could do this with any building if you can find a good one yourself, but this is the one I've been using. Yeah, it all starts right here. This building is a gold mine, but it's not just as simple as breaking down the door and stripping the rooms of all its loot. First, we need to come to the back of the building and slip down in this open window. That way, we don't have to break open the locked door. So if any unfriendly raiders come knocking about, the only way they can get in is through this single window, which you'll be conveniently guarding. Now, this building is filled with all sorts of amazing loot, and if you wanted, you could just strip every wardrobe, shelf, and drawer to take the loot to sell, and maybe that's a better option for you if you don't want to get into too much combat, but there is a better way, which will get you far more loot, like the 120,000 I got in a single raid. See, here's the thing. This building is perfectly sat right in line of sight of either a bastion or a bombardier. It doesn't spawn every match, but I'd say it's about 80% of the time. So now we can get up on the top floor and sit ourselves in this window and let the battle commence. With the Rattler and Ferro, aim for the Ark kneecaps. This is the Ark's weak point. It will take a lot of effort, you'll make a lot of noise, and you'll burn through a lot of ammo, but it will be worth it. As you're taking it down, you can peek in and out between the Bombardier's missiles or the Bastion's reload cycle until they're finally destroyed. Now, this next part's important. Don't go down there and loot it immediately. You've just been making a lot of noise, so chances are people might be watching. Instead, use this time to loot the entire building and occasionally peek out the windows to see if anybody is looting the Ark you've taken down. Now, let me explain this building to you. I've basically lived in here the last couple days, so I know it like the back of my hand. Let's start from the top floor, which is the floor you'll enter from. This is the wardrobe room. There's a wardrobe. Sometimes it will spawn with a lootable container. If you're lucky, 2 lootable containers. Now, this is the chair room. It's got chairs in it. This is the worst room in here. Very rarely, this white cabinet can be lootable, and sometimes the chairs themselves can have loot on top of them, but usually you just need a quick look in here and then you run back outside. Now, as you go downstairs past the first window, you can save time by just dropping onto the middle floor. You don't need to run down the stairs. You'll then find your first wardrobe and jewelry chest. Both of these have lootable containers. Sometimes they won't spawn, but always check, there's usually stuff here to loot. Just spam pick everything up and move into the next room. You'll also find the kitchen area All of the kitchen cupboards are sometimes lootable. You'll also find loot on these chairs sometimes as well. Once again, a lot of goodies there. As you go into the next room, you'll find 2 wardrobes and a jewelry cabinet. All of these can spawn lootable containers, so this is where you'll get some good stuff. Next, you'll find the white shelves room. All of these individual cubbies can have a chance to spawn a drawer that you can loot. Sometimes you can get really lucky and get a bunch here. Sometimes you might just get one or maybe even none, but there's a lot of good loot in here. And downstairs you'll find more of these white cubbies and then a whole room for store shelves, all of which can have loot on. Now, the loot itself can vary. You're going to get a lot of valuable civilian loot, which is just good for selling. You'll get a lot of loot which can be broken down into crafting materials, and you'll get a lot of attachments. You can either break those down into mechanical components or save them for future use. Sometimes you'll get really lucky and get some legendary attachments in here. Now, what's really important here is you want to break down the low value stuff and drop the really low value stuff like the duct tape and the fabric and keep everything else pretty much. And try to save 5 or 6 inventory slots so that you have enough room to loot the bastion or bombardier outside. If you need more space, you can put any looted attachments on your weapons too, which will really help save some inventory slots. Now, once you've done this building a few times, you'll be able to speedrun it really quickly. I'm talking like a few minutes, you'll loot the whole thing and have like 40 to 60,000 of value on average. And that's just in a few minutes. Now, obviously, sometimes you get unlucky and you'll die and there may be other things getting in the way, but overall, that's a pretty successful run already. But then you go and loot the bastion and bombardier, and suddenly your inventory value goes up massively. You're specifically looking for the bombardier and bastion cells, but all of the loot in here is really valuable, and even if you don't sell it, it's really useful for later game crafting. Overall, you'll be able to come out with so much stuff. And the great thing is there's an extract right there, and this extract is amazing. Unlike most of the other extracts on this map, there's only one side that you can enter this train. There's only one button, and it's really easily guarded. And if a player jumps down, you'll be able to hear them, or you'll be able to see them zipping down, so you can react to them accordingly. Most of the time, people are friendly, and you don't need to worry. You can just use voice comms, and they'll probably want to leave with you. Sometimes you get some pretty angry raiders, though. In fact, the raid that I had 120,000 of value on me, a raider was trying to kill me. You can imagine it was pretty exhilarating when I almost died. But yes, I did decide to stay and loot his body a little bit to increase my value even further. Now, okay, once you've run this a few times, it gets even better, because you would have been saving up a bunch of the grenades that you've been looting in this place. There'll be wolf packs, there'll be fuse grenades, there'll be all sorts of different grenades. Especially the wolf packs. You really want to hold on to those. Don't sell them. These can take out the bombardier and bastion super fast. So not only will you be able to speedrun taking down the bombardier and bastion with the loot that you find in this building, you'll also speedrun the loot itself, and you'll be making hundreds of thousands in no time at all. Oh, here's another tip. If you do this at nighttime, your loot will increase in value as well. There's more loot in here spawning at nighttime I found on average, although at daytime it's not bad either. It should be noted at this point that, well, I've made this video about it, so a lot of people might go and try this. At least more people than if I never had made this video in the first place. But I want to showcase that if you learn the layout of a specific building and the layout of nearby arc and the best route to get there and to the extract on any possible map, you can have similar results. You can learn exactly where things spawn so that you can have a nice, clean run. And it doesn't have to be stressful. And funnily enough, I've found this kind of gameplay quite fun and relaxing. It allows me to build up a nice inventory of stuff that, well, now I can basically go and do a bunch of the other elements of the game and not have to worry about struggling to make it ends meet. So by all means, go and try this building and loot strategy yourself, but I would encourage you to go and find your own little corner of Speranza to try this yourself with. Find a building. It could just be any residential building. Find somewhere where you can do this yourself effectively and quietly, what other players don't really know about. Good luck out there. I hope you have fun, and thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing if you want to see more of this Arc Raiders content, and I'll see you all in the comments. Cheerio.